Back to the Indy Boys Racing Podcast. We are joined today by a man who needs no introduction, the Mayor of Hinchtown, James Hinchcliffe. How are you doing, man?
Doing great, guys. Thanks so much for having me on.
Of course, of course.
Yeah.
So, you guys know him as a six-time IndyCar winner, sat on the pole in the 2016 Indy 500, or you know him as the host of the incredible and super fun Off Track with Hinch and Rossi. That's where we're gonna start the show today, Hinch, because Off Track, it's so funny. It's a great listen every single week. I just want to know, like, what is like your all-time favorite moment from Off Track?
Man, that's first of all, thank you very much. That's kind of you to say. We honestly never know if we're doing the right thing or if anybody's listening or if they're liking what they're hearing. So it's always nice to hear that, it's been well received. I appreciate that. Favorite moments, man. That's a tough one. We obviously we do a weekly show, so we get pretty sick of each other and all the bad times, I think, glean over any good moments we have together. But I think my favorite part has always been our live shows. We have a couple in the past. We started, I think, doing one year, and we did that for a few years. Then we did, I think, 5 last year. We're planning on doing 5 or 6 again this year. And it's just fun. You get to interact with people. Like I said, we never know if people are listening or how they will react to what we say. The live shows, you actually get to see it, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, this is good. This is bad. We learn a lot about what people, what makes them tick on the show. And what's cool about those too is we don't record them. So they're a little looser than the normal show where we know, people will listen. so we have some fun, meeting fans and doing that. It's been good.
And throughout all the live shows, I've just heard all of I love hearing the recaps of them in the next week's show of let's see how drunk Tim can get this time.
Yeah.
And those are always my favorite moments as well. But yeah.
I'm glad you enjoy that.
Oh man. But yeah, we're just coming off of an incredible weekend at Texas. By the way, you Townsend and Lee have been killing it in the booth this year so far. Like,
Oh yeah.
It's
Appreciate it.
Probably the best part.
it's a visible difference from the past couple of seasons, and it's really solid. But coming off of Texas, just like the racing was incredible, obviously. Were you two standing up and being on the edge of your seat the entirety of it?
Well, not the whole thing, but that last restart, no joke. Townsend and I pushed our chairs back and we're like, let's get ready for this. It's going to be mental. And they didn't. We cautiously optimistic it was going to be a better race than what we've had there in the last few seasons with the added downforce and NASCAR not touching the track and everything. And man, it was awesome. It was kind of the tale of two races, right? Like the first 3 quarters, Pato and Joseph just dominated, right?
Oh yeah.
And even though you had some great battles, you kind of had these 2 titans just going at it. And then very similar to 2016, there was all these late cautions, everybody threw tires on, and when you have new tires on a high bank oval for 12 laps, everybody feels like Superman, and that's what we got to see for that last bit.
Yeah, and it was really good to see some guys that we've seen be good on ovals in the past couple of seasons fighting up there. I mean, Alex Palou, runner-up in the Indy 500 in 2021, fighting for his first oval win in a couple of seasons. David Malukas, who just got a podium at Gateway last season, fighting for a win, and it actually seemed like he had a chance to win it. And then with Grosjean fighting for that win at the end, with Herta, McLaughlin, it really seemed like there were 7 drivers that could win that race with 5 to go. And I agree with you completely.
Yeah, I mean, all the back and forth, you're totally right. It was awesome to see some of those guys. I like how Malukas in his interview was like, yeah, just little Dave just hanging out there with the big guys. But I mean, he's doing it. It's been great.
Yeah, and you mentioned NASCAR. Over the past couple of seasons, we've really started to see like an open wheel sort of like shift of everyone from IndyCar driver Connor Daly to F1 champions making starts in NASCAR. And so now that we're starting to see a lot of these legends come out to the tracks, like who are some drivers that you would love to see make some NASCAR starts?
Well, if the opportunity came up, so let's start there. But no, I mean, honestly, I think to see anyone do it. I love seeing when drivers sort of make those transitions between series, whether it's open wheel, sports cars, stock cars, whatever it is. I mean, rally cars, you know, Pastrana's got that Nitro Rallycross series, which is awesome. It'd be fun to do stuff like that. And I love, when Chase Elliott went and did a race with him, and Kyle Busch went and did a race with him. So it would be cool to see. I'd love to see Rossi try Cup cars. He's not going to do it. I know that. But, it would be, I don't think there's many drivers in the IndyCar paddock that wouldn't take that opportunity to go try something else. And then I'd also like to see more Cup guys come over and try and do at least an oval or two, whether it's the 500, not whatever. We've just seen how successful they can be on the ovals after what Kurt did in 14, what Jimmy did last year on the ovals. So it would be great to see more people come out and try that too.
What do you think about Kyle Larson coming over for the next 2 years to try the 500?
It's awesome. I think everybody's super excited about it. I don't get why they announced it so early, but it's exactly what we needed, right? And you've got one of the biggest stars in Cup. He's a champion a few years back, and man, I mean, look, that kid gets in everything and just tries the wheels off it, and is fast instantly. And so, the cool thing about the 500 is you have a lot of time to practice. Like I've talked about, Connor's stock car stuff, be it truck stuff or even the Cup stuff he's done. I mean, 9 times out of 10, he's going in there with like maybe one practice session, and it's like, all right, go figure it out. As someone coming over to try Indy, you get 4 hours of practice, plus an open test and all this other stuff. So it's going to give a guy like Kyle Larson plenty of time to figure out what he needs to figure out to be competitive. And I think it's going to be awesome.
Okay.
It's going to be really exciting. And I think they announced it so early because they didn't want another situation like a couple years ago. My last question I have for you, Hinch. So we've seen you compete in a lot of different types of auto racing, and we're going to take this one a little bit away from racing for a second. We've seen you enter a lot of competitions. Why did this one hurt the most? Runner-up in season 23 of Dancing with the Stars. This one, I know this one had to hurt. From a guy who watched the whole season, I just want to know, like that. I know. Does it still sting to this day to not have that mirror ball trophy?
The only reason it still stings is because Elio reminds me every time I see him that he won. And now he's on the back of his helmet just to add insult to injury.
Yep.
The way I look at it, I say I had to compete against a Olympic gold medal winning gymnast in a dance competition. So when you think about what I do for a living and what she did for a living, it was almost like, racing a lights car at an IndyCar race and still coming second. So I think I was first in class.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hopefully there's no bad blood.
I finished second. Yeah. Right. I finished second in a GT car at Daytona. So that's not bad.
Yeah.
So obviously, hopefully there's no bad blood between you and Lori Hernandez. But a fun fact that I saw is that during your wedding, your former dance partner, Sharna Burgess, actually choreographed your first dance between you and your wife. It's just a nice, cool, beautiful moment. Have you guys had any other? Has there been any other connections all the way back to Dancing with the Stars that kind of still show up today like that?
Sharna and Becky and I are still very good friends. We're actually planning on seeing her and her partner and meeting her new son out in Long Beach this year. We try to get together whenever we're out in California, and still a few people we stay in touch with. I got a text from Megatron the other day. He's got a golf tournament he wants to participate in, things like that. So, and then you'll get tons of people coming up to you, man. I mean, that show, has such a huge reach. That people still run into you, on the street, at the airport, whatever, and remember that. So it was an interesting experience. Took some convincing to do it in the first place, but really glad that we did it and happy with how it all turned out.
Do you think if there was an all-star season where they brought back former competitors, would you ever do that?
It's so tough, man. It's such a tough thing to say because I don't like losing, right? And so I really want to go back and do it again. But at the same time, the amount of effort it took that first time was enormous. People do not understand how much work you have to put when you suck at dancing. I think, let me preface that. If you suck at dancing, the amount of work that you have to put in to actually compete is a ton. And to just stop life for 3 months again and spend 8 to 12 hours a day practicing dance. Oh man, I don't know. I could only do it if it was with Sharna again. So if she's not going back to the show, then I'll say that's my excuse out. That's my way out.
Trust me, we're all show choir guys, so we understand the dancing aspect
We
of
understand your
everything.
pain.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
And finally, who's the one driver that you would want to see put on the suit and tie and go dance a foxtrot?
Joseph Newgarden. There's no doubt about it.
Yes.
I think I've seen him at a wedding let loose on the dance floor. That is the guy that can take the mirror ball back for IndyCar drivers.
okay.
There you go. Beautiful. Perfect. All right. I'm going to pass this one off to Jay.
All right. So I only have like 2 quick questions for you. So since you are proclaimed fun employed from racing in IndyCar, what kind of occurred to you to start getting into the broadcasting role? Because we see a lot of drivers decide to like make that switch, and once they, like as you say, fun employed. So I personally want to know a little insight into what helped you make your decision to go to broadcast.
Question. I think it's fairly like cliche, right? In any sport, athlete retires from said sport and then transition up to the booth in the broadcast. But the reason that I sort of had an interest in that and had been thinking about that for a few years, that, you know, when I hung up the helmet, I wanted to sort of look at the opportunities there, was when I was younger, you know, I was racing what was called championship at the time. It was sort of like the Indy Lights to car when the split was still happening.
Yeah.
And there was the broadcast for the Champ Car races. They had the domestic broadcast, which was basically North America, and that's the one that you guys watched on ESPN or ABC.
Yeah.
You did. You probably too. Yeah, but that's what people would have watched. Then there was the international broadcast, which is sent out to 170 countries worldwide, and that's what everybody overseas picked up. These broadcasts was there was one guy in the booth, and it was kind of redheaded stepchild of the TV production. Like, they had to do it, but like nobody really gave them much attention. So it was one guy in the booth. They had like one director. They just got to use whatever the footage was coming off of the domestic feed. It was a big challenge. But so Jeremy Shaw was the guy in the booth, and what he would do is he would invite random people into the booth with him for a segment or two of a race, just to kind of break it up and have someone to talk to. And I had done that with them over the years, just as I was doing the junior categories. And so one year, second race of the season, he's like, hey, do you want to come do the start of the race with me up in the booth? Sure. So the start, and you get in this little bowl, and they put a headset on you, and the producer comes in your ear and says, all right, we're live to 170 countries, don't swear. And that was it. It was like off the race. And so we made it to the first break, and he looks at me and goes, do you want to stay for another one? I said, yeah, sure, why not? I was going to watch the race anyway. Might as well watch it here.
Yeah.
So I do another, and at the end of that one, he goes, do you want to just stay for the whole race? I thought, yeah, I'm going to watch
Might as
anyway,
well.
why not?
Yeah.
So he stayed the whole race with him. Yeah, exactly. And then at the end of the race, he took his headset off. He looked at me. He's like, great job. What are you doing next week? And for the rest of the season, I would do my race Sunday morning, run to the trailer, change, and then run up in the booth and work with Jeremy on the international feed. And so I got this crash course education on the broadcasting side of things before my professional career had even started, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, when I got to Indy, I was just like, yeah, I'm going to obviously do this as long as I want to do this and can do this. But then afterward, I'd love to go do that again, because I had I had a bit of a taste of what it was like, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I feel like I really first noticed you, like, in the broadcast booth was when SRX was on. Like, first season when you were, when you were doing the SRX feed. And I remember texting Daniel. I was like, dude, Hinch is really good in the booth. And it was like, and it was really exciting when that announcement was made live that you were going to be joining NBC.
Yeah. So since you kind of like got into the broadcast, have you like ever studied any other type of broadcasters, like even looking at Lee Diffie or maybe like a David Crofty? Have you like looked at them and tried to like kind of find your own style of things, or like?
Yeah, it's interesting, right? I mean, the important thing that you need to remember is everybody in the booth kind of has a different job.
Yeah.
Well, when you talk about Crofty or Diff, those guys have a very specific role. That's not my job.
Okay.
So I definitely watch and study how Lee works, because it just blows me away. I mean, that guy, if you listen to the races, you watch the races, you know how good he is, but you actually have no idea how good he is, because you don't see what's going on behind the scenes and how he has to juggle some of the things that he does. Producers yelling in his ear, and like just never breaks. He is such a pro. I could never do his job, I don't think.
Yeah.
But look at other driver analysts, right? So you look back on, if it's old IndyCar stuff, you're looking at Scott Goodyear's or Eddie Cheever's, Bobby Unser's, goes all the way back to Jackie Stewart, back in the day. And then obviously on the F1 side, you're looking at Brundle and Ant Davidson, Paul DeRessa, those sorts of guys. So I think the benefit of just being such a fan of the sport anyway, I just love racing so much. And, I've never been accused of, talking too little. So I think just having a passion for the sport and a propensity for talking too much and wanting to explain things to people when it comes to racing, I just sort of found my natural rhythm. And Lee and Townsend made it so easy for me to jump in, and we found a nice cadence between all of us, and I learned sort of where I fit into everything pretty quickly. And it didn't come too much from studying others, but definitely pay attention to what those guys do, because it is super, super impressive.
Yeah, there's definitely a chemistry with you guys, and this booth is, as we talked about a little bit earlier, it's amazing. I just want to say that. So thank you, James.
when my girlfriend, who doesn't watch IndyCar, and there's an IndyCar race on, and she's fully invested, but just because the commentary is good, comparing it to say I don't know if you've paid attention to the Fox Sports booth this year, but it's one of the lower broadcasting seasons for them. It's completely different. And it's miles ahead, and she's just like, yeah, I would watch this just because of the announcers. And I'm like, yep. Well, we're having him on Thursday.
That's the best we can get, man. That's the best compliment we can get.
Yeah. I mean, I work in a dorm hall at a college, and I'll watch the races and practice sessions on the big TV, and people will be walking through the lobby, and they just hear, and they literally run over. They're like, "What am I missing?" I'm like, "You're just missing the best racing." Just saying.
For sure.
Oh.
But yeah. My next question for you. So I love the Tiny Car segment that you guys have been doing for the social media, IndyCar and NBC social media. So I wanted to ask you a typical question that you ask the drivers. If you didn't end up in racing, what sport or profession would you have ended up in, and why that one specifically?
I think with the exception of maybe power, no one has an answer for that. I think drivers, any athlete, right? Most athletes, they find what they love so early, and they just dedicate their whole life to that, right? There's a few freak circumstances where kids were just prodigy athletes growing up, and they played 4 sports until it was all right, you have 4 scholarships, you got to pick which one you're going to focus on. We don't have that option in racing, and also most of them don't have any sort of correlation, right? There's skill sets that come out of baseball that apply to hockey, or football that apply to basketball or whatever. Things so unique that there's nothing else. So, I mean, I think if I was 3 inches taller and had started at the age of 4, that tennis. I really enjoy tennis.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
And I like that. Here's the thing. I like the idea of any sport where I can just go practice as much as I want until I'm good.
Yeah.
Because you can't do that in racing, and it's the most frustrating part, right?
Yeah.
Because no one will outwork me if I'm getting right. I'm just a stubborn bastard, and that's why I did well on Dancing with the Stars. I just worked my ass off.
Yeah. You could practice whenever, so.
Hey, so if I had a sport where I could just go to any tennis guy, just grab a racket and a tennis ball and a wall and just practice my serve for 6 hours a day, sweet, sign me up.
Yeah, that'd be sick. You'd be better than Roger Federer or what's the other guy's name? I can't remember.
Nadal.
Nadal, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's pretty much all I have for you, really. I would love, just a suggestion for the, social media or anything. I would love to see you and Power get out on a skateboard and try something. I'm just saying.
We'll not go on a skateboard. I like my working as they do now. I'll go film him on a skateboard, but I'm not doing that. No
or see a drum off between you, Herta, and Power. That'd be cool as well.
Ooh, that'd be sick.
Because both of them drum. So that'd be pretty sick.
It would be funny because I'm walking into it knowing that I'm going to suck significantly, but I'd be willing to embarrass myself for that context. That would still be good.
For sure.
Hey,
All right.
I think you and Power doing a skateboard thing with you covered in duct tape and bubble wrap would be pretty fun.
Yeah, I would love to see
You
that.
know?
That'd be pretty.
Equipment. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm gonna pass this over to Daniel. So.
All right. So my first question: within the past decade, we've seen a lot of drivers have to become very proficient in social media because I think social media has become a very important tool for drivers, and as well as just regular athletes to help grow their fan bases. Honestly, I think you've been one of the pioneers for bringing this to IndyCar. So I want to ask you, why do you think that social media is such an important factor for current drivers and athletes to master?
First of all, thank you. I appreciate that. We definitely got on board with it on the early side. Again, I'm old, so like when social media started, I was there. Now you come in the sport and you already have it, so it's fine.
Yeah.
No, I think it's important for athletes in general, certainly, but for drivers maybe to an even next level. So I think for athletes in general, the reason it's really beneficial is it gives people that personal connection to the athlete, right?
Mm-hmm.
So whether you're a Tom Brady fan or Lewis Hamilton fan or a Peyton Manning fan, whatever, you can like them or comment on a photo on Instagram or something, and there's like a 1 in a million chance that they like it, or I mean like 1 in a billion chance they reply, and like that interaction from a fan that would otherwise never get to meet this person or whatever can be life-changing for people, right? And so when I first started on it, I thought like, so my hero growing up was Greg Moore, right? And I remember to myself, man, if there was a chance that Greg Moore would have liked a tweet that I sent him or something, I mean, that would have changed my life as a 10-year-old kid. So as soon as I had Twitter, I thought, all right, well, this is a great way to interact with people and like have that sort of banter, and that also gives people a look inside your personal lives, which everybody is interested in for whatever reason. It's just human nature, right? We have this weird obsession with everybody's personal lives. So you know who they are in the field, but who are they at home? What is their partner like? What's their dog like? And so it's just really allowed people to get to know the athletes better, and that helps grow the fan base. Why it's important for drivers is if you're another athlete and you want to grow a brand and you want to do that, cool. It's a huge tool for that, but not everybody wants to, not everybody really has to. You think of sponsorship and how crucial it is for us to even get to go racing, right? You look at a football stadium and you see all the banners and all the sponsors of the team and the stadium or whatever. Well, every single one of those sponsors probably has like player appearances in their contract, right? And a football team is what, like 50 dudes? So you're like, all right, you do one appearance, you do one appearance, you do one appearance, and you kind of break it up over the whole team.
You get a
you look at every sticker on a race car. Exactly. You look at the stickers on a race car, every single one of those companies will have driver appearances in their contract. There's only one driver. And so you are de facto the spokesperson for that company. These companies look at social media as now a very big part of their ROI for getting involved. So the bigger of an audience that you have personally, potentially the more attractive you are to a sponsor, the more engagement you get with your fans, the more attractive you can be to a sponsor. So for drivers, it's more than just, you got to be good at driving the race car. You got to be fast. Same time, you have to maintain this social media presence because sponsors look at it as a very important factor sometimes when they're deciding whether to get involved in a program or not.
Right. Okay.
That's really interesting to hear like that side of it, because I feel like the fan and like media perception of it, like we don't get to know all those inner workings of it. So I think it's really like interesting to hear it from you. So my next question is, just throughout your career, we've seen you have many important moments in your career. We've seen you win many important races. But if there was one race through your entire career that you could go back and change the outcome, which would it have been?
I mean, how big of a change are we allowed to make here? Because like
as big as you want.
It'd be cool to win this
whatever
in
race.
2016. Like I think being on pole at Indy for the 100th, and especially a year on from my accident there, if I had managed to win that race, if we had won that race, I would have just there'd be a movie made about it at some point.
Probably.
You know, like
Yeah.
it's just a cool story.
Yeah.
We almost did it. We qualified a pole. We led a bunch of laps. We didn't quite get the win.
Mhm.
You know, that would actually be but that's too big a cheat. You can't change Indy. Indy picks the winners. So I mean, I'd probably go back to Texas 2016 and be
Okay.
9 1,000ths further in front of Graham and just take that one.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Yeah. I'll be honest. I'm a big fan of yours. I grew up. You were my favorite driver, so that's a very valid pick.
Yeah, that one sucked. Let's put it this way: I know how Pato feels after Texas last year.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Dominating the
I
race
bet.
and then losing it by that much.
So then my final question. Obviously, we know you don't use the word retired. You use the word fun employed, or at least did when you made the announcement. But in the realm of racing, the word retired has a big asterisk on it, and people a lot of time will try to do one-offs, whether that's the Indy 500 or anywhere else. What are the chances of you running another IndyCar race in the future? Where would you like it to be? Listen, I'm just curious. I gotta hold on to the shrivel of hope I got.
Fanboy in him.
Hey.
I know. Yeah, totally valid. Totally valid. I mean, I very consciously didn't use that word. I think the way it was phrased was retired from full-time IndyCar competition.
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm not going to go back full-time. I've done that, for 11 years, and like you say, had some great memories and moments, and that was great. But man, if the right situation came together for the 500, I would absolutely run that race again. I've had conversations the last 2 years. They just weren't programs that got me excited enough to do it. I don't need to just be on the grid. I don't need another starter ring
You
to
want to
just
win.
sit on the shelf.
You want to win.
I got a bunch of those. You want to win.
Yeah.
Only one reason to go back, and that's to win. And I know Indy's cool because we've seen those stories, throughout history, but I want to go in with the odds as stacked in your favor as you possibly can.
Yeah,
and so, right. And so, yeah, if the right situation came up, absolutely, man, I would go run Indy again for sure.
All right. I'm not hearing a no.
All right, so Hinch, the last question is the question that we ask every single one of our guests. What is your go-to gas station snack and drink combination?
The Tristan special.
Is...
Okay, so we're like road tripping here? Is this
yeah, it can be road
Yeah.
trip. Yeah.
Right, and it's at a gas station. Okay, so it's going to be probably a Diet Coke, maybe a Diet Dr. Pepper if I'm feeling really fancy.
Okay.
And
He said feeling fancy.
I'm probably grabbing like a bag of vinegar chips.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's write that down.
Crazy, nothing outwardly. I'm definitely not, going to anything that's on a heated roller. We're not doing any of that.
No.
We're not
Oh
touching
no, you
that
don't.
stuff.
You don't
Intimidating.
touch that.
Because you're going to have to stop probably 30 minutes later, so. So.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
And if you ever trip with me, you will not be surprised to know that it's about efficiency and how fast do we get out of that side. They're pit stops to me, right?
Yeah.
It's like, fast can I fill up the car, grab something to eat, go to the bathroom, get back in the car, and be back on the road. And it's I think 7 minutes is my record for full fuel, a Subway sandwich, a bathroom break, and then back on the road.
So it's legit. It's a pit stop. It's a pit
Yeah.
stop when you're an actual pit stop, guys. If you're road tripping with Hinch, that is what it
Yeah.
is.
That's
Well, I'm
like
on
me
my
on the way
own
back
for
from
sure.
Mid-Ohio.
Dude,
Yeah.
oh my god. Okay, so do you know how like at Mid-Ohio, there's nothing for 30 minutes in either direction. And so we were driving back from Mid-Ohio, and Daniel was like, I don't know, you were just passed out in the back of my car.
I was dehydrated, bro.
And so we finally get to a
There you
gas
go.
station, and I don't know if you know Mike Yoakum from Pit Lane Parlay, but he was just there, and
Yeah.
he sees and we just walked Daniel in, and we're just like, we need Daniel water stat, because it was 30 minutes, because you're in the middle of Lexington, Ohio. There's nothing to do there besides go to the racetrack, and so it was a pretty fun experience.
And then the drive back, I was driving back, and then they
Yeah.
were like, "Hey, we can switch off," and I was like, "No, I'm in the mode. We're going till we get gas. I got it."
Yeah.
In the zone.
My
All
wife's
right.
thing. So we drive back and forth to Toronto a lot from
Yeah.
Indy. It's about a 7-8 hour drive.
Mhm.
And if I'm driving, she has to stop every hour and a half to go to the bathroom. I don't understand it. It defies physics. But if she's driving, she just gets super focused and forgets that she has to go to the bathroom, and she can like do it on one stop.
So you let her drive every
I
time.
sound like a jerk, but 9 times out of 10, I'm like, "You want to drive?
Yeah.
I want to get there."
You're like, I drove enough, man. I drove enough.
That's funny.
All right. Well, thank you so much to the mayor of Hinchtown, host of Off Track of Hinch and Rossi, James Hinchcliffe. Thanks so much for joining our show. Is there anything that you want to shout out, man?
Just keep watching IndyCar, guys. Tune in on NBC, watch on Peacock, whatever. And yeah, if I can give a shameless plug to Off Track with Hinch and Rossi, we're announcing some of the live show dates pretty soon. So I'd love to see some of you guys come out to a live show. So follow along.
Yeah.
Make sure one of them, at least one of them, is either Indy GP weekend or 500 weekend. Just make one of them that, and then I will be happy.
Making one of them Carb Day.
Carb day. Okay, cool.
Yeah, and then we're actually doing one. We have the open test coming up April. We're going to do one on the Friday at the end of the open test in one of the suites at the Speedway. So it'll be pretty cool. Yeah, we'll try to make one of those happen for you.
Dope. All right. Well, thank you so much, Hinch, for stopping by.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.